Hey, it's Laura, Heart of Ukraine Ministries in Ukraine. Tonight I'm going to share with you some of our activities over the past 2 days. A lot's been going on, so I'll try and catch you up on it all. Natasha and I, along with the mayor, went around the village and talked with all the refugees. And there are 37 that are registered, but some are not registered with her. So we still went to some of those houses, even though some of the people aren't registered with her. Here you kind of have to register in every place or location that you live, and some people just didn't want to make that formal declaration of changing addresses, even though it was due to the war. So yesterday, on Sunday, we visited 9 different houses with different refugees, and today we followed it up with 2 more. And she continues to get more information on all the different refugees. First one is one we've talked about a lot in Chernihiv, which is north of Kiev, which we've given mattress, wood, food, eggs. A young girl there would like a kitten, and we think one of the cats that's been hanging around just had kittens, so we might be able to fill that wish. They have talked to their family back there. They're okay. They live in the city. Some bombs have been close, but they're okay. One of the things there is a lot of people fled to the villages on the suburbs of the city, thinking it would be safer. But Russia encircled them, and it turned out to be not so safe at all. And some of this information I'm going to share with you is going to be kind of hard to hear, but basically, the Russian soldiers in this area have been raping women ages 16 to 28, and some of the women that this family knows, or friends of a friend. Many of them were so brutally raped that after they were taken to the hospital, they eventually died. Many of them were raped in front of their parents or in front of their children. Other women were raped and then kidnapped by the soldiers, and they don't know what's happened to the women. So this is widespread. It's almost like Russia has given free rein to the soldiers to do whatever they want to do. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. There was a family of 4 from Sumy, which is also kind of north, but going a little bit further east. We gave them a food bag with all sorts of pastas and grains and sugars and a bottle of flour, which about a gallon's worth. There were 4 different houses with a total of 11 people from Kiev. We gave them food bags and flowers. Some of them came to our house for clothes. We have a lot of women's and children's clothes. So one of the couples was about my age. They were just happy to be alive. And kind of shell-shocked, you could see on their face. We said, "How can we help you? What do you need?" And they said, "We don't even know what we need." So we went ahead and gave the food bag, and then we're actually gonna follow up with each one of these families. Another one was 2 daughters from the Kiev area that returned to live with their mother, and the mother had housed different refugees, but they have moved on somewhere else, and then her daughters showed up. Another house with 3 people from Kiev that we talked to. Then we met a mother with her 7-year-old daughter, and they were in Gostomel, which is a Kiev region. And basically, they were hit in the shelling in like the first and second day. And so they basically ran from their home. It's a military family, so of course the father was away, but the mother and the 7-year-old daughter ran from the house with nothing but the clothes on their back. No identification, nothing. And they know that their house was hit by a bomb. I'm not sure if they saw it or if friends had told them, but their house is completely ruined. So they came down to get some clothes today, or actually yesterday evening, and we gave them, of course, the food bag and the flour. Another young mother with a 10-month-old son from the Vishnivy area right outside Kiev, again, fled, not much at all. The little boy needs shoes. He's 10 months old, and some local families had given him some really big boots, probably for a 2-year-old, so we might try and find some shoes for him, and some diapers is what they need. Now, Irpin is one of the worst hit areas there around Kiev, and we visited 3 different houses with people from Irpin. The first one was a set of parents with a 1.5-year-old boy. They were in need of diapers. We gave them food, and I think we gave them a sheet set, if I remember correctly. Another house had 10 people from Irpin, and I don't think they were related at all. They were probably just people who lived in the same apartment complex and fled together. And so we talked with them quite a bit and invited them down, the ladies, to come and get some clothes. And we gave them a food bag and flour. Third house was 4 people, and basically we asked how they were doing, and the man, just a little bit younger than me, just cried, and they said that they've heard that their house is standing, but the Russians have completely looted it and torn it up, so they have no idea what they're going to find if and when they're able to go back there. A family from Mykolaiv, which is south of us, we were able to give them a mattress, eggs, some cushions, canned goods, cabbage, clothes. They came for clothes. They have a young daughter, and then the food bag and the flour. And we were just asking them how they were doing, and the woman was trying so hard not to cry, but she ended up crying, and I think we got all of us crying, thinking about their friends left behind, don't know if they're alive or not, no idea if their house is still there or not. They haven't been able to reach any of their friends that lived around them. So a very, very sad situation. Another house we went to, there was 6 different people from different areas. A number of them were actually press. They had 3 vehicles there outside of the house, and 2 of them had big signs on them that they were press. And one of the ladies is a lady that we know, and we had met a while back. And 2 of the journalists, she and another one, spoke English, so we talked to them quite a bit, and they have been traveling around, and they were just in Bucha. And you may have seen a lot of that on the news recently. Basically, the Russians just went through and killed everybody. There's people, she said there's just hundreds of people all over the streets dead. A man riding his bicycle was shot dead. They found a number of men who had their hands tied behind their back, and they were executed. They found mass graves where they tried to cover up the people. But it's just horrifying, some of the stuff that they've seen there. And they are getting ready to go in different directions. And one is actually going to cross over into Poland and talk with a lot of the refugees there and how they're being treated and taken care of. So did that yesterday and today. Another request we got was from the mayor asked if we could help out the village school kitchen. The ladies there are cooking up bread for the soldiers in the town nearest us, and sometimes cookies, and they're doing this every single day. So we kind of gathered together, I think it was about 12 bottles of flour, which is 1 gallon each, 5 liters of salt, which is like a gallon, 10 liters of sugar, which would be about 2 gallons, and then 4 bottles of oil. And I took them over there, and I talked with the ladies quite a bit, and we just talked about the war situation. We talked about some of the funny things, like about Stepan Bandera and the head of the Chechen Muslims putting out a bounty on his head, not realizing that this guy lived and fought in the 1917 against Russia when they kind of came and took him over and created the USSR. So we talked about some of that. They asked me how my family was, and we talked about the rehab center, just a lot of different things. But it was nice just to sit and talk with them, and my Ukrainian has gotten better to where I was able to understand probably 75 to 80%, of what they were saying. Of course, context is really, really important. But we've kind of helped the school out, especially this past year, quite a bit. So just developing a relationship there with them. A couple days ago, we bought a glucometer for diabetics for Nurse Lita in our village medical clinic. And it came with only 10 test strips. Mark had a bunch of the little needles that fit in the plunger. So we gave her a bunch of those. And then when I was in the city last week, I was able to go to a couple pharmacies, and I was able to get at least 100 test strips for her. So she'll be able to take care of a lot of the people in the village who are diabetics and test them, because a lot of them, our village is really poor and they don't have their own testers. I did get a call from a pharmacy in the city, and they got some items in to include L-Tiraxin, which is thyroid medication, so I was able to get that. Some friends brought some organic supplements from Romania for me, and I should be receiving a box any day now. I expected it actually yesterday or the day before. That has also got some that's coming from the States. So hopefully that's going to keep me in my medication for a number of months. But when I found out about the pharmacies there in the city having it, I went to 2 different pharmacies and got 2 months worth at each, close to 2 months worth. So, and I've got about 2 to 3 months worth, at least, of Mark's medications. Mark went to the big store today. He said in the city they had really good meat, but not much else. There were large bags of some vegetables, like a cabbage, that he was able to get, but no fruits. He said it was just really, really empty. Some of the long rows of the freezers for the food were empty, and there was just one section that was full. The rest were turned off, cleaned up, everything. We've not been able to find any cups, like for soup or hot tea or spoons. Thankfully, we bought quite a bit in the beginning, but we're close to running out of teacups. And spoons, we've got enough for a couple more weeks of feeding. Of course, we're talking about how are we going to get around this, especially with the teacups. And this last year, I conserved a lot of compote, which is like homemade juices from red grapes, from white grapes, from currants, apples, I think some pears, just a lot more than I usually do. And now I'm kind of understanding, how God was working, and that we're, He was preparing us for this situation. So we're probably going to start giving compote out instead of hot tea. But we've got a few people in America that are taking a look at whether they can buy some of these things and hopefully ship them to us. And it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks to get to us. But that's about when we're really going to run out of the soup cups. He said in the big store there was pretty much no grains, and they were limiting the purchase of a lot of things. Like he could only buy 5 small bottles of oil. So we're going to have to, I think, look for a warehouse maybe that has big bottles of oil. See if we can't find that, or maybe some homemade that people make out of sunflower seeds. I think I did mention that we found a dry good warehouse. Mark went there and he bought 50 kilograms of buckwheat. Now that's 110 pounds. 50 kilograms of rice, again 110 pounds. 50 kilograms of sugar, a number of packages of pasta, and then 50 kilograms of corn kasha, which is what we cook up with milk and a little bit of sugar and raisins. We've given some of that out in the food bags to the different families, but Mark's going to be going back there, but he wants to find some kind of big plastic barrels. We've got a number of them that we've got flour in, but he wants to get some more of those so that we can buy these big bags and put them right into the barrels and make sure that they're sealed. It's going to keep all the rats or the mice out, because sometimes we get mice coming into the house through our verandas. So we want to keep that where it's going to be usable. As far as the garden, I've been looking for and getting ready to order a lot of chemicals that we need. Normally, we only use organic, and we're very limited in the sprays that we use because we like to make sure that everything is, as organic as possible. But since it's only going to be Mark and I and Natasha this year, we're going to have to do so much on our own. We're not going to have the men. We, have 4 to 6 men usually during the summer. So we're going to have to spray a lot more to knock down the weeds, because we're not going to be able to hand pull them. We're kind of rearranging some of our gardening. For example, I'm not going to plant several rows of broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. We're going to do potatoes there, because that can all be done with the tractor. The spraying, the furrowing, everything. We're going to do a lot less of the cabbage, the late and the early cabbage, because we have to hoe around each one of them. And then we've gotten all of our seeds except for, I think, okra now. So we're kind of ahead of the game on that. Just one last note on our piglets. We lost a piglet during the night. I saw yesterday, I'm pretty sure that got stepped on, and I don't know, maybe there was some internal injuries from that. Mama was still learning to move around the piglets, and the piglets are learning to get out from underneath her feet. But they were moving in and out really well on their own, and so I slept the whole night through. It was the first time since March 30th, getting more than 3 hours sleep at a time. So I've gone back to the piglets running out of the box to Mama, but then I closed the little gate and I put them back in the box by hand. And I'm going to do that through the night, and I'm hoping that by tomorrow things will be a little bit better, and again, they're learning to get out of Mama's way, those kind of things. So tonight I'll be getting up one time, probably about 2 in the morning, I think it is, and I'm only going to feed every 4 hours through the night instead of every 3 like during the day. But the piglets are growing really well, and they're doing good. We're going to get ready to separate some of our baby rabbits from their mom, because they're coming to that age where we need to wean them. And our baby chicks are doing really good. Prayer requests, just pray for these families that we went around and talked to. Like I said, they're just kind of shell-shocked. They're hearing news from their hometowns about their homes, about people that they know that have been killed, that have been viciously attacked. It was extremely hard to hear those stories today and to talk with them, and I don't know how many times all of us were just in tears as we talked with them. But just pray for them that God's comfort would be there, that through our contact with them that we can show them God's love in action, and that God will open up their hearts, and that we can just speak more about His saving grace and abundant love and being the Prince of Peace, because all of those things are needed so much right now. Yeah, just a lot of pain going on, even more so at the atrocities that are going on by the Russian soldiers. So I'll end it on that. Just keep all those people in prayer, if you would, and pray that we continue to have the strength and to do what we need to do, and the wisdom to know when to speak and when to stay quiet, when to cry with them, when to laugh with them, and just to be an example of God and of Christ to them. Good night.